Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, September 18th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Notre Dame game is in 5 days. The game against Michigan in 68 days. But we're going to be talking a whole bunch about that Notre Dame game today and for the rest of the week. And with good reason. That is going to be a massive matchup. No matter who you ask, you want to talk to the old school newspaper people, that's fine. They've got the Buckeyes number 6 in the polls, Notre Dame number 9. You want to talk to the computers? Well, Bill Connelly's SP Plus rankings have the Buckeyes number 1 right now, Notre Dame number 4. This is going to be a massive, massive game between two of the biggest names in college football, two of the biggest brands in college football, two teams that are located just about 4.5 hours apart from each other, but who've only played a handful of times over the last century. Yes, it's going to be a big game. We're going to be talking about that game today, but we're going to be doing it through the filter of what we saw on Saturday as the Buckeyes beat Western Kentucky 63-10 in their final tune-up before that trip to South Bend. So today you're going to be hearing directly from Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, starting quarterback Kyle McCord, both of whom had pretty darn good days on Saturday, about what that win over Western Kentucky means, what it's going to mean in terms of this weekend's game at Notre Dame, and much more. Let's start with Ryan Day. The game on Saturday was really the first time this year's Ohio State team has looked like an Ohio State team under Ryan Day. They just exploded 35 points in the second quarter, including 28 points in the span of 8 minutes right before halftime. It really did feel like the first time that they looked like you'd expect a Ryan Day team to look. So you would think Ryan Day probably had to like that.
Yeah, we needed to take the next step. We know what we're about to jump into here in the middle of the season. We know we have to go on the road next week, and that was a good week of work right there. Now it started Sunday. It was Tuesday was a really physical day. Wednesday was a great day. Thursday we kept going at them. I mean, it was all week because we knew we had to turn this up, and we need to build some momentum going into next week. So I think you saw our team play like that today, and that's what it's got to be moving forward.
That is the kind of game that head coaches love because it kind of felt like things were just about perfect at times. Things were really clicking on both sides of the ball for the Buckeyes. But of course, there are always still things that they can teach off of, mistakes that were made that need to be fixed before next weekend.
Yeah, no, what we have to do is we have to find those plays that we know in a matchup game can cost us because we know it can come down to one play. But what we wanted to do in this game is, and we knew it wasn't going to be perfect, we wanted to play really, really hard, really super competitive, a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of people running around. We got that done, but that's the way we're going to have to play moving forward. I think that we knew it was going to be a wide open game. They were going to make some plays, but I thought our defense overall didn't flinch. They hung in there. They hung in there on the fourth downs. That was good. And then you saw some guys make some plays. You saw Kyle respond after the turnover. That was big because that's one of those things you want to watch in a quarterback is how they're going to respond. Are they going to go into their shell or just keep pushing forward? And he was aggressive on the big touchdown. And then we were able to flip the scoreboard there. I guess we had maybe 35 points there. And then also the 2-minute drill. I thought about taking a knee, but I said, no, we need to find out what he can do in a 2-minute drill. And he pushed it down the field, and it was good to see that because that's going to be something we're going to have to do, to win games. He also did it in the Indiana game at the end of the first half as well. So good signs there.
That was the first time that the Ohio State offense looked truly like an Ohio State offense this year. It was also the first time that the Ohio State defense really got tested by a pass-happy offense, and they really stood up to that test. Only 10 points allowed, had a couple interceptions, a couple fumble recoveries, 2 defensive touchdowns. If you're Ryan Day, there is a lot to like from that defense.
Yeah, obviously in the second half, the turnovers were huge. I thought they hung in there when they were getting the stops in the end of the first half and getting the ball back to the offense. They kind of fed off of that, and we had some really good momentum going there. Good passion, bunch of guys playing fast, violent. There was some really good collisions going on. There was a really good hit by Lathan. He got I don't know if that was a fourth down stopper, but that was, that's what we're looking for. Guys flying sideline to sideline and getting their hands on balls in the secondary. That quarterback's very good. He'll rip it and challenge us. So we'll get on the film and figure out the areas we got to get better at.
Something about the team just looked different on Saturday from the previous 2 games. It's not like they had been playing incredible competition weeks 1 and 2. They just didn't quite look right. So what was it about week 3 in that Western Kentucky game that made things just look and feel just totally different?
I just think that the style of the game allowed us an opportunity to kind of go play and compete. But make no mistake about it. I mean, we were turning it up this week. We know what we're about to get into. We wanted to build momentum going into next week, and everything was turned up in a big way. So we got to get back to work. Notre Dame starts now. Usually we started on Sunday. We're starting to prepare tonight.
In the lead up to that Western Kentucky game, including a speech he gave at Skull Session before the game, Ryan Day he's just sounded confident that, okay, I know you've been patient for 2 weeks. That next step is coming. So where did that confidence come from? How did he know that next step really was going to come on Saturday?
What went on this week in practice? We had a few people come to practice, and boy, they said, man, that was as physical of practice I've seen in a long time. The guys responded. We talked about it on Tuesday. We needed to do it. Well, actually, we talked about it on Sunday. And then we have a team meeting before practice on Tuesday, and we laid out what needs to be done this week. And these guys like to get challenged, and we pushed them hard this week. So that was a good sign that they responded.
Things were not completely perfect for the Buckeyes during the course of the game. In their second drive on offense, for example, Kyle McCord got stripped, got his strip sack, and Buckeyes turned the ball over, and Western Kentucky gets the ball. They go down the field, kick a field goal, and all of a sudden, what looked like a 14-0 lead, or what could soon be a 14-0 lead, turned into just a 7-3 lead. So how did they respond? Well, they scored touchdowns on their next 5 drives in the second quarter. That's pretty darn good. You will take that 5 times out of 5. What does that show you if you're Ryan Day?
He's poised. He doesn't really ride the roller coaster, and I think that's one of his strengths. And at that point, I just kind of stayed away and asked him what he saw and let him know what I saw. Didn't get upset, just said, all right, we got to come back and go play now. We got a long game ahead of us, and was interested to see how he'd respond. I wasn't going to be conservative at that point. I wanted to really push the envelope because we have to turn it up, based on where we're going. And so he responded, and it was good. He wasn't fazed, and that's important because there's going to be plays that don't go exactly the way we design them, and there's going to be tough moments, and we're going to have to respond. And that's what being competitively tough is all about.
There was a lot of talk last week about the lack of production from the Ohio State defensive line, and especially the defensive ends, who had not recorded a sack in the first 2 games. So on Saturday, they just were a lot more active. They just seemed to have much more of an impact in the passing game. Mitchell Melton got a sack, but they just were constantly in the face of Austin Reed, the Western Kentucky quarterback, getting hands in passing lanes, deflecting passes, just making life just really genuinely unpleasant back there in the pocket. So was that sudden increase in production and impact on the game, was that just based on the opponent and what Western Kentucky was doing scheme-wise, or is there maybe more to it than that?
Yeah, I thought there was a point where they really, put their hands in the dirt and started coming hard. I thought, they were into it. I liked their, the competitiveness. I think they're going to watch it and see some things that they even can, improve on. He does get the ball out quick too. He wasn't like he was hanging on to the ball a lot, so the ball was coming out quick. But there was a lot of things there to go on and a lot to learn from. But just their overall attitude was really good. I mean, they were into it. They were, I felt them out there today, which is a good sign.
Now we're going to let you hear from Ohio State starting quarterback Kyle McCord. He had a very solid first start of his career, 19 for 23, more than 300 yards, 3 touchdowns and through the air, including a 75-yarder to Marvin Harrison that was pretty much just like you draw it up. Let's talk to him, though, about the one moment that was not how you draw it up, and that was that strip sack. It happened second drive on offense, as I mentioned earlier, and that really could have been a turning point in a bad way for the Ohio State offense, but it wasn't. They came back, as I mentioned earlier, 5 straight drives, 5 state touchdowns in the second quarter, and bing, bang, boom, the game's over before the marching band comes out on the field at the half. So what happened on that play, and then how did they bounce back after that?
Yeah, I thought I responded well. The strip sack was my fault. It felt like they brought pressure, and the O-line did a good job of giving me enough time. I just got to make better decisions. And so I think after that we responded well. I thought the guys around me, just lifted me up and, told me that, we just got to keep going, keep pressing. And I thought we did that. Obviously, followed up and, put some points up on the board. So that was good. It was a good way to respond.
That game on Saturday almost undoubtedly helped lower the average blood pressure around Columbus by about 10 to 15 points. But how does that kind of a game help the team when they know they've got that Notre Dame game coming up on deck?
Yeah, I think this was probably our most complete game as an offense. and just trying to continue to take strides. And felt like we ran the ball really well. I feel like we had success passing the ball, and so it's definitely a good confidence boost going into obviously a big test next week. So it's just all about how can we take that step from week 3 to week 4 and continue to get better.
You heard Ryan Day earlier talk about the fact that Kyle McCord just had a better week of practice last week than he had in previous weeks. Was that because Kyle McCord knew it was his job and he could just focus on improving? And how much does a full week of reps with the ones really change things when you're the quarterback after you've been splitting time for the first couple weeks? You're going to hear 2 answers here combined back to back.
I think it's definitely nice getting the official nod from him, but at the same time, the more experience I can get, the more opportunity, the more reps, the better I feel like I'll be. So I just kind of had that mind state going into practice week and attacking it like a game every single day. And I feel like we had a really good week of offense, or a really good week of practice on offense, and I think that showed today. Yeah, I think it does help when you have understanding of kind of how the game's going to go, that you're going to be getting all the reps, and you're going with the ones, and you really don't have to, try to think about what's going to happen, if you don't put together a drive or anything like that. And then I think this week kind of used that confidence boost a little bit, and, just trusted my rules, trusted my reads, trusted my eyes, and I think good things happen. So just continuing on that for next week.
The Buckeyes were efficient on their first drive. They kept those chains moving and they marched down the field methodically for a touchdown. And then later they were explosive. They had 3 drives of one play drives. Long touchdown run by Chip Traynham, long touchdown reception by Marvin Harrison later in that first half. So how hard is it? How do you combine being both efficient and explosive at the same time? How were they able to do both of those things?
Yeah, I thought the biggest thing today was we ran the ball very well. And anytime you run the ball well, I thought, we did a good job running it, in between the tackles, and then we did a good job kind of getting it out on the perimeter. And I think that stretches the defense and opens up shots to take down the field like we did to Marvin, opens up the drop back pass because they really don't know what to expect. So anytime I think we can really get the run game going, which I thought we did a tremendous job of that today, it opens up the entire offense. So I think that's a credit to the O-line and the running backs today.
And finally, as we officially turn the page from the Western Kentucky game to the Notre Dame game, how big was it for Kyle McCord personally, for the Ohio State offense and the Ohio State team on the whole, to have a game like that where it looked like, okay, this is how things are supposed to look as they're now entering Notre Dame week?
Like I said, I think we spun our tires at times, and we go out to practice and have some really good days, and then maybe that wouldn't always translate to the game at times. Like I said, I think we look really good, and then there are times where I felt like we left money on the field. So having a game like this, I think, will give all the guys a little boost of confidence going into the game next week. And I think the biggest thing is just continuing to ramp up that intensity in practice, because we know what it's going to be next week in South Bend against a really good team and in a tough environment. So we're just going to have to ramp it up and continue on this kind of trajectory that we're on right now.
Well, this is going to be quite a week in the city of Columbus and the city of South Bend and the state of Ohio and the state of Indiana and everywhere else there are Ohio State and Notre Dame fans, which is pretty much everywhere, I think. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Saturday night in Notre Dame Stadium, televised on NBC, primetime game, 2 top 10 teams, top 5 teams, depending on who you ask, going head to head. Should be an incredible game, an incredible night. We're going to have a whole lot of stuff to talk about between now and then. So this would be a great time to double check. Are you subscribed to all of our podcasts? If you are, great. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you are not, well, friends, this is going to feel like a very long week as you wait for that kickoff on Saturday night. So why don't you fill some of that time with some of our great content? You can find all of our shows on wherever you're listening to this one. Search Buckeye Huddle, find all of our shows. We're going to have lots of folks talking about lots of different angles on this whole thing this week. And then make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified when we go live. We're going to probably have a little more live content this week than in a typical week because it is, in fact, a very, very big game week. And when it is a very big game week, that is a great time to be a member of BuckeyeHuddle.com. We have a fantastic team of insiders covering the team, covering recruiting, covering X's and O's, everything you could want. Everything you can need, all in one convenient place at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We always tell you, if you're not sure, am I going to like it? Give it a shot for a month. Subscribe to a 30-day subscription. see if you like it, see if you decide you want to stick around. And if so, great. We have offered memberships at an annual rate on a discounted basis, but give it a try for 30 days. And boy, would this be a great 30 days. There's going to be a whole lot to talk about here as the Buckeyes head into South Bend on Saturday for what is going to be one of the bigger games in the last few years of Ohio State football. I know I can't wait. I'm going to guess a lot of you can't either. So should be a really, really fun week, really, really eventful week as we head into that game coming up this weekend. Hope you guys hope to have you guys along with us on every step of the journey. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.